Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Today I'm going to show you how you can extend the life of your outdoor footwear in a way that's relatively inexpensive and fairly easy to do. Technology has advanced quite a bit since I was in the Army. When I was in the Army, footwear usually meant all leather, hard to break in, heavy boots. I had a lightweight alternative in my jungle boots, but they still required some break-in time. And they were still a little bit heavy on the standards that we look at outdoor footwear today. Today, you can go to the store, you can purchase a pair of boots right off the shelf, put them on and hit the trail. No break-in time required. However, that usually comes at a financial cost, and those boots have a tendency of wearing out much faster than a traditional leather boot. Just like any of our outdoor equipment, we will occasionally want to perform some preventative maintenance on these, and that always starts off with a visual inspection. For our footwear, we want to look at it. In order to look at it, it needs to be clean. So if you have caked mud or anything else like that on there, you're going to want to clean these up before you do your preventative maintenance checks. And what you're looking for are any areas on the boot that appears to be failing. It could be the laces, it could be the eyelets, it could be areas of stitching that are starting to fray, and it could be areas of the bonded rubber welding that is on the soles that are starting to come loose. But what you want to do is you want to nip these things in the bud. You know, just like Don Knotts as he portrayed Barney Fife on the Andrew Griffith Show, nip it in the bud. You want to head it off the pass, because if you don't, you rapidly develop into a situation where the boot is pretty much beyond repair. Let me give you a real quick example. I pulled out a couple pair of boots that are worn out to my standards. And what I do with my worn out boots usually is I'll just go ahead and throw them in the closet and I'll pull them out for lawn mowing boots. And but they are still repairable. And I'm going to be repairing them as I'm doing this video. This particular boot, as we can see, there is a separation from the sole and the body of the boot. That has not come completely free. All of the interior of that boot is still intact. So if it's still together, we can repair it. However, if we wait a little while longer and continue wearing it, we have a complete separation to where the boot is completely compromised. Another item which is very, very common with outdoor boots today is boot manufacturers have it in their mind that they have to produce something that is flat out downright sexy for the outdoors, and that is their number one concern, and the longevity of those products is somewhere further down on the list. Keen is one of many companies to where that is an issue. The soles on these very easily could have been designed and engineered in a single piece. However, they want it to look cool, they want it to look awesome. So they get people that are marginally into the outdoors, will occasionally go outside hiking, but you know what? They want to look awesome doing it. So they're willing to pay the big bucks for the really cool looking boots. Well, every single pair of Keen that I've owned, and I've owned a lot, have this, I almost want to call it a decorative outer sole separate. And if that's not taken care of, well, it's in this state. And it gets to this state really quick. By the time you notice it, it's usually about to here. You will have an issue like this. And at this point, you can see how far that has gone.
I see you.
It's almost completely gone. And the first pair of boots I had like this, well, I just figured, well, that's no big. I'll just go ahead and trim off that little bit that's flopping around there. It's not a problem. You would not believe how uncomfortable that boot became. So this outer decorative portion, if you remove any of that, that's going to affect the way your boots feel on your feet. So in order to prevent this from happening to where the boot is almost just about completely unusable for anything, including mowing your grass, you want to catch it in these early stages and to be able to make those repairs. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be focusing on 3 different types of repairs. First of all is a minor separation of the material that goes around the toe, sole separation, and little holes. These are the materials that I'm going to be using to make my repairs. Now you see a large variety of adhesives. I'm not going to be using all these adhesives. However, I am going to go over the different types of adhesives that you can use to make repairs, so therefore you can make an educated decision as to what adhesive that you want to use in the future. You will need to have some type of tool. It could be as simple as a popsicle stick to get into the areas that have begun to separate, so you can clean those out thoroughly. You'll need some type of a brush, could be a toothbrush. I do ceramics, so I just happen to have ceramic tools that are going to get in to dig out any type of debris, remove any excess dried glue from the manufacturer that's going to prevent the seal from adhering properly. You could very easily find a use for an X-Acto knife to get into those areas to clean the things out properly. I'm going to be using some shop rags to stuff in the toes of my boots. I want to make certain that there is a very firm toe when I'm making some of these repairs, in order to have a much better seal and compression of those areas, and without it you don't get that. I'm going to be using some electrical tape to bind those areas shut as they cure, and a pair of scissors to cut the tape. This adhesive is the adhesive that most people will usually go to first when something breaks. The venerable super glue, whether or not it is the liquid or the gel. It doesn't matter, because neither one of these will work well with any type of footwear. This dries very hard and brittle. Your footwear needs to move, and if you glue any part of these items with a super glue, as soon as you start walking, all of that glue is going to start breaking apart and lose its bond. The next adhesive we're going to look at is shoe goo. This is probably a product that a lot of you have already used to repair your shoes in some way, shape, or form. This product, as well as another product we're going to be talking about, is made by the Eclectic Products Company. This product works particularly well on vinyl, leather, rubber, and canvas. It's composed of styrene butadiene, toluene, and solvent naphtha. That solvent naphtha is one very, very vaporous type of solvent. It evaporates very quickly, and it produces a lot of really not good for you fumes. So you would definitely want to use this in an ultra well ventilated area, or just take it outside to use it. The next adhesive is E6000. This product is also manufactured by the Eclectic Products Incorporated. It is a strong glue composed of high-grade polyurethane. It is resistant to extreme harsh weather conditions and multiple exterior factors. It's suitable to use with wood, metal, ceramic, fabric, rubber, vinyl, glass, plastic, but you should avoid trying to use it with things like styrofoam, polystyrene, polyethylene, or polypropylene, as it will potentially dissolve either completely or partially those materials. It is not water soluble, just like the shoe goo is not water soluble. It is also resistant to UV radiation and extreme heat. It's ideal for use in extreme weather conditions, both cold and hot, and it's excellent for working professionals. Since the E6000 is an industrial glue, it has a tensile strength of 3,200 psi and a shore hardness of 80. Now, the last adhesive we're going to look at is Gorilla Glue's Clear Grip. It is essentially identical in all of its descriptions as the E6000. As a matter of fact, they even advertise on the label to be used just like E6000. On the reverse side of E6000, there are some precautionary notes, and it states that in California, it has been shown to possibly be a cause of cancer, where on the back of the Gorilla Glue Clear Grip, it does not. There could be just one material that is used in the manufacturing of these two adhesives that necessitates the E6000 to have such a label, and the Gorilla Clear Grip does not have to have that. But from everything I've read and researched about them, they're virtually identical. None of these three products are water soluble. All three of these products do produce harmful vapors, so you absolutely have to use these in a very well ventilated area or outside. All of them are clear, all of them cure flexible. All of them require 24 to 48 hours to cure completely. My recommendation from my own personal experience, make certain you give it the full 48 hours to cure. All three of these products run essentially in the same price range. The cheapest I've seen these has been about $3.50, and they go all the way up to about $5. All three of these containers are relatively the same size. The Gorilla Glue is 3 fluid ounces. The E6000 is 2 fluid ounces, and you get the biggest bang for your buck for the money with the shoe goo at 3.7 fluid ounces. And if you're looking at these, it's like, well, it's just a little teeny tiny hole. I don't need that. I'll never use all that stuff. Well, you can, if you store these correctly, be able to keep these for a very long time. You have to make certain that the lids are tightly secured on. You put them in a Ziploc bag, roll them before you zip them to get any of the air out. If you possibly can, keep them indoors in a climate controlled environment, and they will last a long time. Since all of these containers are metallic, as you squeeze them, you want to make certain that when you're getting ready to store them, you're going to squeeze them to the adhesive is right at the very top. Put your lids on. That way there's no air that can get in there to allow any curing whatsoever with the glue that's up toward the top. And you're thinking, okay, well, I don't want that stuff sitting around my house for whatever reason. Well, that's fine. You can purchase the E6000 in very small containers, and I believe you can the Clear Grip as well. I've never seen the shoe goo in any other size other than the one that I have here. It may come in different sizes, but I don't know. Both of these, I'm pretty sure, I know I've seen this one in the smaller sizes, and this one here I'm pretty sure that I have. So you don't have to worry about that. The last thing I'm going to point out with these before we get started with the project, if you notice the nozzles on the Gorilla Clear Grip and the E6000, it's a very small, long tip. And that's going to facilitate you being able to get that adhesive in a small nook and cranny very easily. However, the shoe goo It's a much larger opening. There is no conical shape to the dispensing nozzle whatsoever. It's just like a tube of toothpaste, except bigger. And when you squeeze it out, you have a glob. So you're definitely going to make sure that you have a popsicle stick or something to be able to smooth that out, because you cannot precisely place the shoe goo like you can the E6000 or the Gorilla Clear Grip. Now, as far as the quality of these products go, if you are repairing a pair of shoes that you wear very casually, it's not in extreme environments or extreme temperatures, you don't wear them frequently, you can go with shoe goo. Shoe goo is good. However, if you wear your footwear and extreme weather conditions, that includes moisture levels as well as temperatures, and you wear them frequently in very extreme terrain, I would go definitely with the E6000. And I've not had much experience with the Gorilla Clear Grip, but we're going to find out over the next few months. I'm going to be using each one of these adhesives for a different type of repair. For the shoe goo, I'm going to be repairing the hole that's in the back of my Loa boots. I'm going to be using the E6000 to repair my sole separation, and I'm going to be using the Gorilla Clear Grip to take care of the areas to where the toe cap is peeling back from my Solomon boots. Each one will have a different purpose. Hopefully, all of them will have the same results, which is amazing. I'm going to be prepping all of my boots to be able to apply the adhesive. And the one thing that I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox about is, in this world, we have grown to become accustomed to the throwaway nature of our society. And in every aspect of our lives, manufacturers are utilizing designed obsolescence, and they are purposely producing products that are not supposed to last for a long period of time. However, when you do purchase a product like these Solomon boots, these are not an inexpensive boot. I did not wear these long at all this winter. I got them specifically for my winter boot, and I started noticing the toe cap separation, and that that makes me unhappy. It's okay to be upset, maybe even angry about spending hard-earned money on something that is billed to be a very high quality product, something that you can climb Everest with, and then have it fail. That's perfectly reasonable to be upset with it. However, that being said, you can take them back. You can turn in your warranty card. There's all kinds of ways that you can deal with that. But let's say the warranty's out. Let's say the retailer that you purchase these from is unwilling to work with you. You do have a repair option, and you always should communicate with the manufacturer and let that manufacturer know what's going on with their product, and let them know respectfully how you feel about that. Now, with all of my boots, I'm going to use whatever I can. It could be an X-Acto knife. It could be a spoon from your kitchen drawer. Whatever you need to be able to get inside of that area and remove any debris that's in there. And the adhesive that they use to put the toe cap on this particular boot was a very good adhesive. However, I believe that this failing was due to low quality leather, because the leather has torn away from the toe cap, not the other way around. And being able to get inside and separate that out and clean it out, you can actually see what the reason for the failing was. And both of these failed in the same location. It was on the inside big toe area. And this one's not quite as bad, but yeah, it's exactly the same. The leather has torn away from the adhesive. But we'll be able to repair this well enough to get a little bit more life out of it, and this may be a repair that I need to do throughout the entire toe cap as time goes by. These Loa Zephyr mid-height boots are my daily wear. I have gotten over a year of almost continuous use out of these, and I also wear them to the woods. So they are used almost constantly. So I'm not as upset with the failing of this particular product as I was with the Solomons. And both are built to be rugged, tactical boots. And you know, you're supposed to be able to do any type of outdoor activities whatsoever, and they're supposed to be built really well. But like I said, these new no break-in time period boots, yeah, they fail like this. I got a little bit of a separation there. I'm not as worried about that because it hadn't begun to separate completely. That's just a little gash. This sole has not begun to separate like this one. So I do have a little bit of an issue going on here that I'm going to, basically, I'm just going to inject the glue in that when I get there. But other than that, this is the only issue I have with these. Now, I'm going to use a popsicle stick to support that open so I can get way down in there. And it may open just a little bit more, but I'm going to be putting the adhesive all the way back in there. And I want to get all of that debris out of there. You can use a little brush. You can use an old toothbrush to do this type of thing. It'll work every bit as well. If you have dental type tools that you use for gun cleaning, those would be pretty much ideal to use in there as well. You just want to get all the debris you can out of here. And after you're finished scraping these out, one of the things I'd recommend is to get a damp cloth, maybe with rubbing alcohol, and just to give it a good thorough wipe down on the inside as well. I did not show you those when I told you the materials we're using, but I do have those in a drawer right beside me. This is the boot I'm going to be using the shoe goo to repair that hole. There is simply a tear in the leather right there, and I'm going to be using the shoe goo in layers to build that up. On the interior of the boot, I've worn these, I've had these in excess of 8 years, and that is the only issue that I've had with these boots. But the interior, that there's no more padding on the top of the heel cap that's right in there. And so I have to wear, you know, some pretty heavy-duty hiking socks when I use these. But what I'm going to do to prep that, because I mean, there's no real prep you can do to the exterior, I'm going to be using a little bit of the electrical tape, and I'm just simply going to tape a little section on the interior of the boot just as a block to prevent the shoe goo from oozing on the interior of the boot. And the reason I'm using electrical tape on any and all of these repairs is the fact that there is a certain stretch quality to the electrical tape that I find very beneficial in squeezing that stuff together when you're getting to cure. I'm going to have to pull this back like this. Might even need to take the lacing out of it. But I'm just going to put this on the interior of that hole. I need another little piece. So just a small portion of the shoe goo is actually going to go on the interior to where it touches the tape, and the rest of it will be built up on the exterior of the boot. Nice thing about the shoe goo is anything that you have, whether it's a backpack, anything that has an area that's, well, I'll show you. This is a Molly 2 medium rucksack, and the only issues I have with this pack is the fact that that is a hard edge underneath of this strap. And as you can see, that strap has begun to fray, and it's not because of what's underneath. It's not because of what's underneath. It's constantly being bumped on stuff on the exterior. So while I'm doing this, I'll just go ahead and I'm going to apply a couple layers of the shoe goo over top of this webbing on both sides, because both sides, the left and the right, are beginning to do this. That will create a shock absorber and prevent any of that impact to negatively affect the webbing. I'm going to start with the Solomons. I'm just going to get ahead and ball up some shop rags to really pack tight in the toe, so that way you have stability. And when you wrap that electrical tape around there, it is not going to squish, and you're going to have a proper bonding, because your feet are going to be in here, and if you don't have this in here and you wrap that tape around, it squishes it. Even though this is flexible, it could potentially cause an issue with the way that it feels when you wear it. So that's good and tight in there. And I'm using the Gorilla Clear grip to use with these. And again, I absolutely love the fact that there's a very nice nozzle, and it's really going to allow me to get inside of this. I'm going to just go ahead and force that right down inside all the way. And with these metal tubes, just barely holding them, you're creating enough pressure to cause the adhesive to come out. So you do not have to really squeeze this thing hard to have the adhesive come out. So you want to avoid that. Okay, it's all the way to the top. As soon as you're finished with that, you're going to want to put the lid on, because it's going to continue to want to come out. I'm going to pull that in there a little closer. And you can see that it's filled all the way to the top. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap that with electrical tape. Since this adhesive bonds everything, what you're going to do is, when you remove the tape after it's fully cured, you're going to use an X-Acto knife or something like that to trim up any of the residue that's left over by the electrical tape or the glue. Let's get start right there, and as you can see, there's a little bit of a stretch that you get with electrical tape that you do not get with masking tape or any type of tape, whether it's Gorilla Tape, anything like that. I would not want to use any other type of tape other than this, simply because of the adhesive that is on this creates very little residue. If you were to use Gorilla Tape, duct tape, anything like that, you're going to have a lot of that glue residue on the exterior there. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other one, and then we'll move on to the next boot. Just had a battery die, but I'm going to fold that piece of leather back up on top of that, and I believe that's going to be sufficient. Let's see. I think I will. I think that we're going to try that abrasive or abrasion resistant technique on there with the shoe goo. And I'm just going to resurface that with that rubbery protective coating of the shoe goo. And again, I'm going to use my popsicle stick to smooth that out just a little bit. Now I'm going to set that off to the side, and while I'm at it, I'm going to repair or treat the strap on the Molly 2 medium rucksack with the shoe goo as well. Now I'm going to apply this primarily with the popsicle stick. Get a little more precision there. I'm just going to put a good thick coating on there. And this should not in any way, shape, or form affect the effectiveness of the webbing, because this is supposed to be flexible. And I don't have any plans of ever removing the waist pad from the pack. Now with all of these adhesives, they are going to get tacky very, very rapidly. The E6000 and the Gorilla Glue, both, if you're not using them the way that I've used these so far, you want to keep those separated and for about 2 minutes before you apply them. I simply filled 2 holes on my Solomon boots, and I'm just doing a coating of the shoe goo on the strap. And but you'll see when I do the lower boots that I'll prop those open and let it, a little bit of that evaporation curing start before I squish them together. I just wanted to show you, I was very careful to only get the shoe goo on the webbing and not the webbing and the frame. I've gone ahead and stuffed the lower boot that I'm doing the sole repair on with the shop rag, so it's in there good and tight. As you can see, that would give quite a bit if that were not in there, and I don't want that to do that, so that's why I've got them in there. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the E6000. I'm going to fill that little gash there. I must have caught that on some barbed wire or something. And I'm going to use this exactly the way I did with the Solomon boots and the Gorilla Glue. Clean that up just a little bit. I've got it good and deep inside there. Just even it up just a little bit. So we're good there. I've got a little bit of a hole here, but I think that that will be taken care of when I get inside here. Good. And prop this open, and I want to get the E6000 down in there as far as I possibly can, and that's quite a bit of separation, so it's going to take quite a bit of adhesive, and being able to get inside is a huge benefit, which I could not do with the shoe goo. I'm going to do that on top and bottom. Now where the stick is, the popsicle stick, there's a little bit of a gap there, but I've got so much adhesive in here, so that hopefully that will all fill in when I close it together. Okay, 2 minutes. All right, that is 2 minutes. I've already started to adhere the popsicle stick. Now we're going to force that in, get some of that adhesive to ooze out. I'm going to use the electrical tape, and we're going to have to do this back and forth since it is right at the toe. That is a lot of pressure there. Use a popsicle stick to clean up a little bit of that excess oozing out of there. Scissors. A little more cleanup. And these are going to go on the workbench for 2 days. And in 2 days, we'll pull them back out and see how the repairs went. The boots have had a few days to cure. Let's go ahead and get that tape off of there and see how those repairs went. Let's start with the lower boots. This one, the only repair necessary was to patch up that hole. And oh, that did great. The area where I had the tape inside here is perfectly smooth, so there's not going to be any friction on the top of my Achilles heel, or excuse me, Achilles tendon. And yeah, that healed up quite nice. Okay, let's take a look at the Loa Zephyr Mid. On this one, I repaired a small hole, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, and the tape is coming off beautifully. I'm not going to have to use the X-Acto knife for any cleanup. That was the toe. Excuse me. There we go. Yeah, that's not going anywhere now. The front end of the sole was coming off, and it is welded quite nicely. And the last boots were the Solomons, and the problem with it was the toe cap was starting to separate from the body of the boot. Oh golly. And again, the leather was actually failing underneath that. That looks excellent. Get the... Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. Let's see if this tape comes off it any easier than the other. There we go. There we go. Now this one was a larger gap where the toe cap was coming off. And again, it was a matter of the leather failing. And that looks perfect. Let's see, get my hand down in there. Oh yeah, excellent. So all the repairs went exactly as planned, and the only way we know is if these things are truly repaired or not is by taking them out and wearing them. After I did all the repairs to the boots that had minor issues that I knew were going to be easily fixed, I decided I was going to spend a little extra time and tackle some of these boots that had extensive damage done to them. And this pair of Keens, all the fancy dancy little extra outer pretty sole stuff, all of that was coming off. So I glued all of that back on, and it it is holding quite nicely. This pair of Merrells, there were 2 holes in each side, right at the knuckles of the toes. Those had been sealed. There was separation of the sole from the toe cap. That has been repaired, and the sole here was coming off, and well, that right there is one that I did not see, but it was coming off right like this, and it is now completely taken care of. So there were a lot of issues with these boots, and I was saving these for lawn mowing boots, and that's what they'll continue to be. And I'm going to take turns wearing these to mow the lawn with, just to see how long these types of repairs, extensive repairs, will last. And this last pair of Keens here, you had almost complete body separation from the sole, and I repaired those on all sides. And again, I'm just going to see how long these things will last before those repairs begin to fail, or the boots begin to fail someplace else. Well folks, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.